Contractors are under ever-increasing pressure to deliver to tighter specifications, tighter timescales, and tighter margins. Here, we discuss the ways in which these three potentially conflicting pressures can be successfully addressed with this new technology.
I think what we're seeing is that most of these customers that we have that are adopting and using technology are improving everything in their complete sort of workflows and the way they use data and start to go into digitalization. So I think we see a lot of projects that are improving vastly with the usage from start to finish. And I like the discussion we had before that, of course, you bring in everything from more or less the takeoff in the beginning, and then you bring that all the way through the project into you have the final asset, and of course you do the handoff, and then you have lifetime or life cycle on it. What is happening in the world now, which it's interesting, is that many people are, and our customers are utilizing technology faster and faster. That means that the win that we will see on all of these projects will, of course, worldwide be a great win for us. And I like the discussions about the roads here, because US, of course, has a ton of roads, and I lived there for 6 years, so I've also been riding on a few of them, and it's a lot of work that needs to be done to fix these roads. And I think that if we just use the right technology here to actually improve the roads, and we have that technology today, it's not something that is not existing, then we could also make sure that we have the right kind of way of thinking about cost for it. Because right now we are basically doing what Murray said, and then we're just repeating the same mistake all over and all over again, while we can go in and actually fix this and have quality in the roads with the technology that most of us have. So sorry, I can ramble on forever on this because it's extremely interesting, but that's just one take on it.
Well, let me ask you this then, Magnus. How does your technology help the construction industry cope with this increased pressure?
All of the solution we have, from takeoff all the way to more or less paving, can be used for all of our customers. But I think some people believe the hurdle is too high. I believe that the hurdle is too high if you never start. I think what you need to do is start, even if you start small, and then you start to do certain different machines, for instance, that are connected, and then you build it in and start to work with your suppliers that you believe is good for you to work with, and you build and grow with them. We, of course, are taking that sort of attack into it and supporting the customers and have a dialogue with the customers to start in different levels. We don't believe that you should start with everything. You should start with what is comfortable, and then you bring it in, and then you start to increase the digital part into your company. That, I think, is the start. Then you go from there and build, I would say, a more comprehensive, depending on the customer or the company size that we're talking about, what can you bring into your workflows, and how do you then get the rest of the technology in at the next step? I think that's the way to do it. You can't just go in all in. You have to sometimes assess where is the best value for me or the best win, and how can I get this into my company, my workflows.
Murray, I'm going to ask you the same question. And contractors, they're being asked to adopt new technologies all the time and new solutions. How does your technology help this?
We have a saying here at Top Gun: you can't manage what you can't measure. And as far as that is very helpful, but what happens is if you often you do the work and then you measure it afterwards, then you figure out what you did right and what you did wrong. But it's already happened. And in this day and age with contractors, the timelines are they're extremely tight. The profit margins are paper thin. So I think we've really changed that motto. So you can't manage in real time what you can't measure in real time. And so this connectivity is what is helping contractors to be able to go off and have more control over their jobs. I think Magnus is spot on there. You can't bite off more than you can chew. From a standpoint, you've got to take off and focus on whatever part of your business that you think is struggling, and that's where you go off and implement the technology first, and then you continue to add as you get more comfortable. And I think that's where we are with it today. I think as you said, the pressures and the timelines are tight, and we have the different technologies that people can utilize, and it's just a matter of getting them comfortable in their companies to implement.
Elwyn, I'll come over to you, and we've mentioned it briefly, but there are huge financial pressures for some of these contractors, aren't there? Firstly, I'd like you to answer the question and then expand on that part of it. How does your technology help the construction industry cope with the increased pressure? And one of those pressures, and I would imagine one of the biggest pressures, are finances.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. Construction companies generally run on thin margins, and we read stories every day of construction companies going out of business because they got in a hole on a project. And I think we've seen many examples of where one project is the thing that puts a company out of business. Where we look at it is not just from the technology on the site, but going much further upstream in the process. We recently acquired B2W software here in North America, and the reason for that acquisition is to really help connect together. What Murray said is being able to measure the results on the site is so important, no doubt. But how do you connect up that information with how you expected that project to run, what you planned for, what you budgeted for in that project? So we're really looking also at how we can help contractors from that very early stage in the process identify which jobs to bid them right, bid them with the right kind of plan and the right kind of margins, and then execute against that plan in line with that estimate, so that you're closing that data loop out of what you plan and how you execute the job. We see this really exciting connection between all these devices we have out in the field, devices on machines, drones, rovers, total stations, scanners, collecting really rich information about what's happening on the job site, what I call descriptive information, and being able to feed that back in and comparing it, those progress results, to what was planned for the job, and helping contractors make corrective actions in real time. This is what Magnus was talking about as well, right? The faster we can get data back to the project manager, to the site engineer, to the supervisor to say, uh-oh, something's off here. This job is not running as we expected. The productivity is not as we expected. How then you can make corrective actions to bring that job back on track again, or to change your plan in light of changed site conditions or weather, of course, the thing that none of us can control, that is the curse of all contractors. But we see that connecting that data together across the cycle is a really powerful way to help contractors run their jobs more efficiently, but also their whole business, their operation more efficiently. And not just that, but then to feed that data loop back to the next estimate. How do I, based on what I learned from my execution of the last job, how do I plan and estimate the next job more effectively?